What if the biggest threat to your relationships isn't the other person, but something happening inside you that you don't even notice? Think about that for a moment. Have you ever found yourself pulling away from someone who genuinely cared about you? Starting arguments over small things? Overthinking texts? Questioning someone's intentions even when they've done nothing wrong? Or maybe ending relationships that could have worked because something just didn't feel right? If so, you're not alone. One of the most surprising truths about human behavior is that many people don't lose relationships because they choose the wrong partners. They lose them because they unknowingly sabotage the right ones. And the most difficult part is this: when we're sabotaging ourselves, it rarely feels like sabotage. It feels like protection. Your mind convinces you that you're being careful, realistic, independent, or cautious. But underneath those explanations, something deeper may be happening. Many of the patterns that damage relationships begin long before the relationship itself ever starts. Imagine a child growing up in an environment where love feels unpredictable. Sometimes there is affection, attention, and connection. Other times there is criticism, distance, rejection, or emotional absence. Without realizing it, that child learns something powerful. Love is not safe. Even if nobody ever says those exact words, the brain starts building that belief. Years later, that child becomes an adult looking for connection. They genuinely want love. They genuinely want closeness. But at the same time, another part of them fears exactly what they desire. This creates an internal conflict. One part says, "I want someone close." Another part whispers, "But what if they leave?" One part says, "I want to trust." Another part says, "Don't be naive." One part says, "I want to be loved." Another part says, "What if they discover who I really am and decide I'm not enough?" The result is often self-sabotage. Not because you're trying to destroy the relationship. Because you're trying to avoid pain. One common way people sabotage relationships is through constant testing. Maybe you've seen this before. Someone asks questions they already know the answer to. They create little situations to see how their partner reacts. They intentionally pull away to see if the other person chases them. They look for proof that the relationship is secure. Ironically, these tests often create the very problems they're trying to avoid. Why? Because healthy relationships are built on communication, not hidden exams. Imagine being with someone who constantly doubts your intentions. Eventually, even the most patient person becomes exhausted. Another form of self-sabotage is expecting perfection. At first, someone seems amazing. You feel excited. You feel hopeful. You imagine a future together. But then they make a mistake. Maybe they forget something important. Maybe they say something insensitive. Maybe they disappoint you. Suddenly, your mind shifts. You start focusing on flaws. You question the relationship. You wonder if they're really the right person. What often goes unnoticed is that perfectionism isn't always about high standards. Sometimes it's about protection. If nobody is good enough, you never have to become vulnerable. If every relationship has a fatal flaw, you never have to risk getting hurt. Perfection becomes a shield. But it also becomes a prison. Because no human being can live up to an impossible standard. Not your partner. And not you. Another hidden form of sabotage comes from overthinking. A message takes longer than usual to arrive. Your mind starts creating stories. They're losing interest. They're talking to someone else. Something is wrong. Hours later, you feel anxious, frustrated, or distant. The problem is that the emotional reaction happens before any real evidence exists. The brain dislikes uncertainty. When information is missing, it fills in the gaps. Unfortunately, it often fills those gaps with fear. What makes this especially dangerous is that imagined threats can trigger real emotions. Your body reacts as if the danger is happening right now. Your heart races. Your mood changes. Your behavior changes. And suddenly you're responding to a story, not reality. Many relationship conflicts begin exactly this way. Not because something happened. Because someone imagined something happened. Here's another uncomfortable truth. Some people sabotage relationships because they secretly don't believe they deserve love. That may sound extreme, but it shows up in subtle ways. When someone compliments them, they dismiss it. When someone cares about them, they become suspicious. When someone stays loyal, they question the person's judgment. Deep down, they carry a belief that says, if they really knew me, they wouldn't choose me. Think about how painful that belief is. Imagine trying to receive love while constantly feeling unworthy of it. It's like trying to fill a bucket that has a hole in the bottom. No matter how much love enters, it never feels like enough. The issue isn't the amount of love. The issue is the belief system receiving it. This is why confidence is often misunderstood. Confidence isn't believing you're perfect. It's believing you're worthy despite being imperfect. And that distinction changes everything. Another reason people sabotage relationships is because familiarity feels safer than happiness. This may be one of the strangest psychological patterns of all. Human beings are naturally drawn toward what feels familiar. Not necessarily what is healthy. Not necessarily what is good. Just familiar. If chaos was familiar during childhood, calm relationships may feel boring. If emotional distance was familiar, healthy intimacy may feel uncomfortable. If inconsistency was familiar, stability may feel suspicious. The brain often prefers a known discomfort over an unknown peace. That's why some people repeatedly find themselves in similar relationships with different partners. The faces change. The names change. But the pattern remains. Because the pattern feels familiar. And familiarity can be mistaken for chemistry. This realization alone has changed many people's lives. Sometimes what feels exciting isn't connection. It's recognition. Your nervous system recognizing an old emotional environment. And repeating it. Self-sabotage can also appear as emotional withdrawal. Everything seems fine. Then suddenly one person becomes distant. They stop sharing. They stop opening up. They become harder to reach emotionally. Often this happens right when the relationship starts becoming serious. At first glance, it seems irrational. Why pull away when things are going well? But for someone who fears vulnerability, deeper connection means greater risk. The closer someone gets, the more they can potentially hurt you. So distance becomes a form of protection. The problem is that protection and connection usually move in opposite directions. The more walls you build, the safer you may feel temporarily. But the more isolated you become emotionally. One of the biggest myths about relationships is that love alone solves everything. It doesn't. Love can bring two people together. But awareness is what helps them stay together. Without awareness, old wounds quietly control new relationships. You may think you're reacting to your partner. But sometimes you're reacting to experiences that happened years ago. A disagreement today may awaken a rejection from childhood. A delayed text message may awaken an old abandonment fear. A minor criticism may awaken deep feelings of inadequacy. The current moment becomes mixed with the past. And unless you recognize what's happening, you'll keep fighting battles that don't belong to the present. Here's a question worth asking yourself. What do you consistently fear most in relationships? Being abandoned? Being controlled? Being rejected? Being betrayed? Being disappointed? Your answer may reveal more about your behavior than you realize. Because fear often sits underneath sabotage. People rarely destroy relationships because they want pain. They do it because they're trying to avoid pain. Ironically, the strategies designed to prevent suffering often create it. The person afraid of abandonment becomes so clingy that they push people away. The person afraid of rejection never fully opens up. The person afraid of betrayal never learns to trust. The person afraid of disappointment expects the worst. Each strategy makes sense emotionally. But each one can damage the very thing it's trying to protect. The good news is that awareness changes everything. The moment you begin noticing your patterns, you create space between the feeling and the action. Instead of immediately reacting, you can pause. Instead of assuming, you can ask. Instead of withdrawing, you can communicate. Instead of attacking, you can reflect. That pause may only last a few seconds. But those few seconds can completely change the direction of a relationship. Growth doesn't mean becoming fearless. It means recognizing fear without allowing it to control every decision. Healthy relationships aren't built by perfect people. They're built by people willing to examine themselves honestly. People willing to say, maybe my reaction isn't only about this moment. People willing to ask, what am I really afraid of here? People willing to challenge old beliefs that no longer serve them. The truth is that most relationship problems are not simply about communication, compatibility, or timing. They're often about unconscious patterns. Patterns created years ago. Patterns repeated automatically. Patterns that continue until someone becomes aware of them. And perhaps that's the most empowering realization of all. If a pattern was learned, it can be unlearned. If a belief was built, it can be rebuilt. If a fear was conditioned, it can be challenged. You are not doomed to repeat the same relationship story forever. You are not permanently trapped by old experiences. You are not your wounds. You are not the mistakes you've made in past relationships. You are the person becoming aware of them. And awareness is where change begins. Maybe the next breakthrough in your love life won't come from finding a different partner. Maybe it will come from understanding yourself more deeply. Maybe the relationship you've been trying to fix isn't only the one with another person. Maybe it's the relationship you've had with your own fears all along. Because the moment you stop fighting against yourself, something remarkable happens. You stop needing to sabotage what could actually make you happy. And for the first time, love stops feeling like a threat. It starts feeling like a possibility. If this helped you understand your mind better, subscribe for more videos like this.